What's going on, guys? Today we're going to talk about how to price yourself as a beginner photographer in 2021. Now, as we know, in 2020, COVID-19 hit and set a lot of businesses back, not allowing them to open and putting us all into lockdown.
Toronto and Peel region go into a lockdown.
Non-essential businesses will have to close across the province.
Ontario is also reporting more than 2,000 new COVID-19 cases.
This meant that everyone who was staying at home and couldn't have in-person sales had to really push their online presence to the max. So what better way than to hire photo and videographers? We also had very important people like Kevin O'Leary come out and say this.
But now, you know who I'm hiring? Story writers, videographers, photographers.
Now, him saying that was really good for the industry because you have a billionaire coming out here and telling you what he's spending his money on and what's most important, which is videographers and photographers. That's insane. You have a lot of people who look up to him for mentorship, and he just told them what he's doing. Now, for me, I looked at this, was like, wow, this is great. This is amazing. That means I'm gonna get a ton more clients. And of course, it doesn't always work out like that. There's always competition within everything, but with social media and how it is today, I've had brands reach out to me reach out to brands, like in my last videos where I teach you how to properly reach out to brands, which you can check up there. It is quite good, and I still use that method today, and now I'm getting companies reach out to me from doing so. So it's a really good method that you should definitely try if you are a beginner and really want to work with brands. In today's video, we're going to talk about three main things. Should I work for exposure? How much is too much or too little to charge? And should I charge hourly or a day rate? Now, let's get the big one out of the way. Should you work for free or exposure? Now, this really depends on what you are and what you're capable of. If you're just starting out fresh, yeah, sure, why not? Like, what's it gonna cost you? Don't be spending a ton of money on it, but if you break even or even gain some from it, it's definitely going to be beneficial for you. Now, I still have some companies that I work with for free, genuinely because I love what they do and the message they have across, everything with their brand. And I do gain paid photo shoots from them posting my photos, which is great for me. So either way, working with them for free is still bringing in money for the future. You really need to narrow this down to yourself. You need to know what you're doing. You don't do stuff that you don't like for free. I'm grateful because their brand is really something that I'm very in touch with, which is like Nature's, Cabins, Off-Grid, and I really love being able to go there and take photos and stay there, which is amazing for me. Now, if there is like a small company that's just starting out, I don't mind working with them for free, like for their products rather. Like they trade me some product, I'll take some photos, they use it for their Instagram. To me, that's nothing bad. Like I get to help a small company, especially a Canadian company, up and come their social media game, and I still get to enjoy their products, which is amazing for me. One of my first gigs I actually did for a $500 gift card for their brand, which was super fun. It was really nice to be out into that like atmosphere of shooting, especially when I was first starting. Like my heart was thumping and I was like, this is so crazy, like I'm actually being a photographer. Like my head was like exploding. I loved it. So if you're starting out, I think that working for exposure can be a good thing, but don't let people take advantage of you, because there's a ton of companies that are huge and have huge budgets and still take advantage of small creatives. So just be careful about who you work with and know when to stop. If you're doing free shoots for like 4 years straight for this company, like just be like, hey, like shoot a nice like casual email over saying like, hey, it's great, I love your product, I love what we're doing, would we be able to spice it up a little bit by like accepting payment, blah blah blah. There's definitely a way to go about it, not to be like, hey, I need to get paid, but I'm sure you guys will figure that out as you go on. Now, the next one is how much is too much and how much is too little. This really depends on what you do, like your niche type of photography, whether you're like commercial photography or social photography, like weddings, engagements, family photo shoots, or brands, products photography, etc. But what you should do is really check out where you are. So Google your location and type in wedding photographer and see what people are charging. Now, don't take what they're charging, but just get the idea. It's like when you're selling a car and you want to know how much to sell it for. You check out what those cars are going for. So do that with your brand, with your photography. And fall somewhere in the middle. If you think that what you're charging yourself is way too high for what you do, find a number that you're comfortable with making and you think your work is definitely worth that, and I'm sure it is. So just find a number that you're comfortable with and charge. If you see that it's not working out and people think that it's too high, then maybe lower it a little bit. If you're comfortable with the price, if you're okay with not getting gigs is super fast, don't overcharge yourself, don't undercut yourself. Because it is expensive to run a photography business, even if you're just you by yourself. You have so many things to pay for. Now let's talk about that really quick. What is the client really paying for? A lot of people, they just think that they're paying for your time and the photos. Well, you're also paying for the gear that you purchased, which is thousands of dollars, your time, your travel to get to and from there, your websites, your software. There's so much behind the scenes that people don't know of what it takes to run a photography business, and it really is quite expensive. So you definitely don't want to be losing money. Okay, and the last one, should you charge a day rate or should you charge hourly? Now this really depends on the project that you're shooting. If it makes more sense to do a day rate, then definitely do that. If the customer is very adamant on paying hourly, then you definitely can work an hourly wage out. Just make sure you have these wages set. You can say, hey, I'm so and so an hour, or I'm this for the day. Now let's break down a photo shoot really quick. You have three main things: pre-production, production, and post-production. Now, pre-production includes location scouting. It includes getting the props, figuring out the time of day, especially what they want, what the vibe is, whether it be an engagement shoot or a product shoot. Production, how long you're shooting for, which is pretty simple. You just tally up how long the photo shoot really was. And then you have post-production. Now, post-production is where a lot of the time goes in that they don't see and they don't know they're paying for. And this is the one that gets missed by a lot of clients. They don't understand how much time it really takes to do edits and how long you're really sitting behind a computer screen for. Now, it really depends on what you're doing to the photos. If it takes a lot of manipulation, whether it be a product photography and you're removing backgrounds, whether it be engagement shoots and you're just tweaking the tones to get the best colors, it really depends, and it does take a lot of time. So just make sure you include that in your overall price. Now, when I do hourly rates upon request, I do the first hour $150 an hour, and then every hour after that I do $85 an hour. The 150 is just in case it's only 1 hour. You don't want to be 85 bucks, you know what I mean? So 150 for the first hour, 85 for every hour after that, and I usually include my 1 hour of post-processing in it. You can charge your hourly wage however you feel most fit. This is what I charge personally, and then from there I do day rates of 500 would be like a base, and then up from there, and that just allows like a full 8-hour day, and then like what I'm okay with making. So if you're trying to make $100,000 a year, we have about 49 working weeks in a year, and then you have about 5 days that you would be working for, so you're not working weekends. You're trying to make around $400 a day, and that's working every single day. And as a creative, that doesn't happen all the time. Now, I think the best way to find out what you personally should charge is to break down your expenses. Start writing down what you're paying for and how much each month. And then that will tally up a huge number that you were super scared of and you're like, why am I buying these things? But it will also allow you to figure out how much you should charge hourly and what really goes into a photo shoot. If you have a $5,000 camera and you just spent $5K on it, and if you're charging $50 a photo shoot, you're gonna need to do $100 in order just to pay off that one camera. Now you have, say, one photo shoot a day and you're charging 50 bucks and you're doing 100, you have half the year almost gone just to pay off your camera. You haven't even broke even yet, and you have all these other things to pay for. Now, the best advice I can give you is to break down your monthly expenses and then figure out how much you need to break even and then how much you need to profit. And this is the best way to break down how much you should charge. Now, remember why you started. Chances are you didn't start being a photographer to like be the richest man in the world. You probably hated your 9-to-5 job like me and wanted something that allowed you to be creative and more free. Now, being a photographer, there is definitely good money in it in the future, but starting out, you can get overwhelmed really quick. It's quite expensive to run it, and a lot of the times, you're not making a ton of money. So don't let that get you down. There are definitely ways to get through it. Now, this is something I struggled with as a photographer starting out. I would just throw numbers out like, boom, this is how much I charge, and people would like eat it up or spit it out. Basically, they'd say yes or no, and that was fine. I said, okay, I'll take the yeses and whatever with the no's. But finding a number that was like best suited for me, and even have people that I've worked with say you're charging too little, was like made me really sit down, rethink, and analyze how much money I'm spending and how much money I need to make in order to break even and profit off it. So don't hesitate at all to ask me about anything at all. I promise you I'm super happy to help, and I appreciate every single one of you watching these videos. I will see you guys Sunday.